Content creation, you're hearing that word everywhere, in every industry, in every specialty, in every walk of life. People are talking about content creation. I'm excited, and you should be excited as well, because you, the audience, the patients, the customers, the clients, you benefit because there's so much information that's out there. Tonight, I'm going to talk about how content creation supports medicine. That's what field I'm in. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, create the life you've wanted, avoid complications, and go to the next level. I am in the middle of VLOGmas. VLOGmas. You may say, what is that? VLOGmas is a time every year when content creators come aside and they take a month, the month of December, and they work to improve, they work to change, they work to expand, they work to grow, and work to get their content creator, get their content better, their offerings. What are they doing? Make sure that they are still working within their purpose. And the benefit to content creators like me is that we get to expand, and we get to look at what we're doing, and we get to grow. And the benefit to you, the benefit to our audience, to our patients, to our clients, to those who consume our content, is that you get to see us do it, you get to see us grow, and sometimes you get to see us do it live like you're doing right now. You get a front row seat to all that we are doing. So a shout out to all of those who are doing content creation improvement in this month, which we call VLOGmas. And you'll see the logo right above my head over here somewhere. And if you see that on any of the videos, any of the posts in Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and YouTube, if you see it anywhere, that means that that content creator is working right now during this month to expand and to grow and to improve their content. So I want you to get out there and I want you to support them. All right. Let them know that you really appreciate what they do and that they're taking time to grow, because it does take time to improve and to refine and to work on all the things that we do. But anyway, go over, support them. And you may not normally even consume that type of content. It may not be a subject that you normally listen to or watch or podcast. But this month, I want you to take the time and get over there. And I want you to let them know that you do support them and you appreciate what they are doing. This month on this channel, I have been highlighting people who are doing things in their space wherever they find themselves. And we have had an amazing lineup so far for the month. We are on day number 15 of that process. Last night we had Pastor Kirk Nugent. The night before we had Dr. Ruby Lathan. We talked to Dr. Raynon Andrews earlier. And we are going to have more amazing people coming through to share with us their story. Let me pull that graphic up really quickly so that you could see it. And this is the graphic that we've been showing, right? Amazing folks. And go back and watch the ones that we did for the first week, right? Amazing, amazing, amazing. And I have just been excited, and a fire has been started under me to continue to work and to continue to grow. So thank you for being out there, those of you who've watched us. Those of you who've been with us, thank you. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you are liking what we're doing, and share this with your family and with your friends. Okay? All right. So that enough said, let's jump into what we are doing tonight, what we're doing tonight. And tonight I'm taking some time to tell you a little bit about my story. We've been talking to guests that have been on, and we've been working through and walking through and listening to their story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, but I want to talk to you specifically as we get through the show about how content creation can support medicine, You know, it's an interesting thing that it seems sometimes that technology goes everywhere before it goes to medicine. Now, most people will say that medicine is always changing. There's always something new. But if you go into the halls of medicine, you'll find that as doctors, we tend to resist change, not because we are resisting, but because we want time for the things that are being brought to show that they are beneficial, right? Because after all, you don't want to just, grab something off the shelf and grab something off the counter and use it, right? So doctors are very thoughtful and very intentional about what they do when we're treating patients. I say they, me, right? When we are treating patients. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. First of all, let me tell you that I never wanted to be a doctor. That was not one of the things I wanted to do. You know how some people get up and from the time they can walk or talk, they say they want to do something. Doctor was not on my list. In fact, as far back as I could remember, I always wanted to be a pastor. And that is really what I went to school for. When I showed up in college, that's what I was going for. And that really comes, a shout out to my cousin, Pastor Eastern Marks, who is the Sabbath School secretary there in Northeastern Conference. I remember I was at church and he handed me, and back in those days, if you know anything about our church, they do something called a mission story, right? Where they would tell a story about people who were in a different country and how we can help them. And I was visiting the church and he had me do that. And I stood up in front of the church and I gave the presentation, or I read the story. I forgot even how I did it. But at that moment, I said, okay, first of all, I like being in front. I like standing up in front of people. Okay, this is going to be awesome. I love this. And then the ministry, right, was added to that fire that I had. All right. So I wanted to then be a minister because I watched my cousin and I saw them were in church. And after all, as you're growing up, right, when you're growing, if you're good at church, people tell you, hey, it looks like you're going to be a pastor. You're going to be this, right? So all that was coming to me. And so my years, I wanted to be a pastor. And in fact, when I was in high school, I had the application already filled out. When I started high school, I had the application already filled out for the school that I was going to go to. And it was Oakwood College, University now, right? Back then it was called Oakwood College. I was going to Oakwood College and I was going to be a pastor. That was it. And there was nothing that was going to stop. And everything that I did was with the intention, that's where I'm heading. And I got to college and I am in the ministry courses, right? I'm taking the classes. I took Greek and started Hebrew and, Old Testament prophets. And, so we're going through all of these classes, contemporary theology, right? So those are the classes that we took. And I went through first year, right? So freshman, sophomore, and I came back junior year, and that's when I changed. And I changed because I had an experience that no longer aligned with what I thought I was supposed to do. Okay, so I had that experience, and I decided that I was going to change. And now I'm a junior in college, right? So I've taken all of these classes, and I picked up a degree, or I picked up a major in math and computer science. So a dual degree, and I actually graduated with the degrees in math and computer science. And with those in mind, or with those in hand, I enrolled at the University of Alabama, right, in a PhD program, because that's what I was going to do, computer science. And we were doing hydrocarbon research. If you guys are out there, basically trying to figure out where there's oil, right? So we had a contract with one of the big companies, and I was writing programs. We were designing algorithms, artificial intelligence algorithms, right? That's because that was my specialty, artificial intelligence. How were we going to put data in to this system and have the system figure it out, right? Because this kind of finding things was not it wasn't linear, right? You wanted the algorithm, you wanted the computer to have some sense of learning, right? So as you put data in, right, the data, because there's no oil right here. So are there places where it's more likely to be oil? And so you feed that into the computer, and we were writing all those things. Anyway, so that's what I was doing. And I was at the University of Alabama for a while, right? So I'm going through this course, and as part of the coursework, right, or part of the advancement, there's an exam that you have to take. And I took the exam and I didn't pass. Yeah. So I'm heading, right? So that's my new thing, right? So not theology anymore. I'm going down this path. I'm in a graduate program, in a PhD program, and I'm doing the classes. I'm being successful in the classes. And this exam comes, the qualifying exam is what they called it, and I could not pass the exam. And so my advisor says, hey, go study, I'm not sure what's going on. And so they gave me a chance, and I took the exam again. And guess what? That's right, I didn't pass the exam. And so they gave you 2 attempts to pass this qualifying exam. And because those are my 2 attempts, I was no longer allowed to be in that PhD program. And I left after probably 3 years, right? So I'd been there for 3 years studying and taking classes and doing research. And so that was a blow to me, right? Because through high school and through college, man, I was knocking it out. I mean, I was a good student. I didn't really have to study that hard. Well, when I got to math, when I changed my way, I had to study hard, right? But it was a blow to me. And so I left graduate school at the time, and my wife and I now we were in Birmingham in Alabama. And I started teaching at one of the colleges down there. And I started working in the computer science lab. I was the lab supervisor, right? So I set up the computers because I had the degree, set up the computers at the college. And these were old computers, guys. So we're doing DOS, and if you know anything about computer, we're switching out floppy disk, so that the students can do what they need to do. We've got WordStar and WordPerfect, and when you try to save something, if you had the application on one disk, and you had it in the computer, and you had to take it out if you wanted to save something and put the data disk in. You guys remember that? Yeah, that's how old I am. But I had an experience. I had some time that I spent at a place up in Illinois called Fermilab. It's a linear accelerator lab, physics research, and I had been part of a group, and our job was to write a program that would collect data. So the way the linear accelerator works is they take a beam and they slam it, a beam of light, and they slam it into a block of lead, essentially, right? And it's going at such a fast speed that the particles, when it hits the lead, the particles will shower the chamber. And so we were in charge of writing the program that collected, because they had all these detectors. And our program, when those particles came into the system, our program would take it and begin classifying the data. Okay, so that's what I did there at Fermilab. Shout out to you guys, by the way. And it was an exciting experience. So flash forward now. So I graduated. I'm at the University of Alabama, PhD program, didn't pass. Now I'm sitting in the computer lab, and I'm basically the lab instructor. And they needed someone to teach some of the higher level classes. Now, I didn't have the degree, but I had all the hours. Because remember, I was in graduate school in a PhD program for 3 years, right, before this exam thing comes up. And so I'm there, and all the time my wife is in medical school. And one day, So anyway, so we're going. Let me don't say the one day. So we're going through, and she's getting ready to graduate or soon, and I am in the computer lab, and someone says to me, "Hey, what are you gonna do?" Because remember, I had changed now from theology. I was no longer able to continue, at least there, in computer science. So not a PhD program. And so I'm just now hanging out. I'm watching TV, go to work, and it was fun, right? So I'm doing my work and so forth. And then I started looking around, say, yeah, I got to do something with my life. All right. So I've got these 2 degrees. And I started thinking, well, what can I do? And someone said to me, hey, have you ever thought about medicine? And I said, well, no, I've never really thought about medicine. I thought of probably a lot of other things, but medicine was not one of those things. And so I decided, because I was just teaching at the time, running the lab, I decided to take a class. And the first class I took was I had to take chemistry. Right? I had to take general chemistry and physiology and then organic chemistry, and I had to go through that whole thing. Now, notice I never said that I intended to go to medical school. I was just taking classes because I needed to do something. And at the time, there wasn't anything that I was going to do. So I started taking classes because I needed to be doing something. And so I started taking classes and liked what I was doing, but never really intending to go to medical school initially. But the more I did, the more I went through the classes, the more I took the classes. Yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? And in fact, when I got to organic chemistry, right, because we did that, we moved to Georgia, did organic chemistry. I had trouble in organic chemistry and I failed the class, right? Now, prior to graduate school, I had never failed a class. So no, let me not say that. Let me go back to high school. I did fail history, right? History, not what I meant. But anyway, so I failed the class. Organic chemistry, so I had to retake the class. And took the organic chemistry, got into medical school, and I'm going through medical school, and my grandfather passes away during my first year of medical school. And it was a tough thing because my grandfather was a big presence in my life at the time. Huge. And so so going through, even now as I'm telling you that, I'm thinking about him. So it was a tough time. And so I failed the class and I had to go retake the class. And I retook that class. I had to go down to Louisiana. I had to go to Tulane. Is it Tulane I did or LSU? One of those, yeah. But anyway, so I took that class again. Yeah. Come back to school and I'm, doing my thing. Right. And so now I'm in medical school and I want you to hear something I'm going to say right now. When I was in medical school, do you know one of the things I did not like? Endocrinology. I did not like endocrinology because it didn't make sense to me, right? These hormones and these things that they were telling me about did not make sense to me. But and medical school for me was a tough time, right? Because I'm coming from computer science and math, which are both of those areas. You are able to reason your way through something, right? So you give me a problem, right? Find X, and you give me this equation, you give me this expression, and I am trying to do that, and I have the rules for finding that, and I'm able to walk through that, physics classes and all those, right? So that comes naturally to me. When I get to medical school, now they're like, okay, here's these 10 books, go memorize them. Yeah, so there's not okay, let's walk through this thing, right? It didn't make sense. It was just lots of memorization. And for those of you who are out there, you're watching, and I tell people now that medical school is not technically difficult stuff, right? It's stuff that makes sense, but the volume, and you heard Dr. Raymond Andrews talk about that. When did we talk about that? I think it was Saturday. Anyway, earlier this week, right? And he said, yeah, it's like trying to drink from a fountain or a hydrant with a straw. So lots of stuff, lots of things that are there, right? So you got to memorize this stuff. And I'm going through, and I had challenges through medical school, right? That's a whole nother story that I'll probably do that at another time. Challenges through medical school, right? And I had some other failures in there. So it wasn't like, peaches and cream and everything goes great. Yeah, there were some other failures in there. But I graduated from medical school and got into residency. Right. So I did a combined residency, medicine and pediatrics. So I can treat we can treat children and I can treat adults. Right. So that's a med peds. And once again, shout out to all my med peds folks who are there, who are watching. So I got through med peds and then decided I wanted to do endocrinology, which is the study of diabetes and metabolism and the endocrine system. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, wait. You just told us that the thing you didn't like in medical school was endocrinology or endocrine system. How did you decide to do that? Well, let me tell you this story, right? This is one I've got to tell. Right? So when there were so many things I wanted to do. I wanted to do cardiology. That was the first thing I wanted to do when I said, hey, I'm going to do a specialty cardiology. And then I wanted to do immunology, allergy and immunology. But none of those were working out. Okay. And so now I know I want to do a fellowship, but I don't know what to do. And what did I say my background was? Math and computer science, right? Okay. All right. So I want you to remember that. So I go to this clinic with this guy, amazing fella called Corsil, Dr. Corsil. Hey, doc. And I'm in clinic with him. And I am watching him take care of this patient who came in who had a thyroid problem. And he begins to describe to me, as we're talking to this patient, how the thyroid works, how the hormones for the thyroid works. And he says, there's this thing in the brain that connects down to, sends a signal to the thyroid. And then the thyroid sends a signal back to the brain to tell the brain whether it's adequate, what it's doing or not. And he says, I don't know if you remember this. That sounds like a computer loop. Ah! Boy, when he said those words, remember what is my background? My background is computer science and math. So all of a sudden my ears perk up, right? Because he's talking my language. I might be in medicine, but at the heart, I am a computer guy. I'm a math guy. And when he said those words, it was like all of endocrinology opened up. It's like, right? I heard music and the sky was shining and bulbs and lightning were flashing. And the endocrine system kind of opened up. And I'm an endocrinologist today because of that experience, right? Yeah, because it made sense. And the more I got into endocrinology, the more I learned. And I went back and I'm looking through this stuff. And I'm like, why didn't anybody ever tell me that the endocrine system was like a computer? If they had told me that, right? So yeah, this would have been great. So I'm going through, so I do endocrinology and I come out and my wife and I, we open a practice and we've been practicing now here in Huntsville. Okay. That's endocrinology. That's the story. But at heart, I am a computer and math guy. And so I'm coming to work and I'm talking to patients and I'm telling them stories and I'm going through information. And I'm doing and I'm saying the same thing. I'm going to the room, right? So I'm telling the same discussion. I'm having the same discussion. I'm having the same conversations, right? Because the theory of endocrinology, right? The stuff is the same. So you're saying it over and over and over. And I thought to myself, and somebody in the office said, hey, you should make a video that tells people the stuff that you say all the time. That way you could spend time talking about things that are specific to them. That way you don't have to go through that stuff anymore. And so I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I did. I'm going to do it. But then, time goes by and it doesn't happen. And then COVID comes along. I love how things intersect. Right? So I have been, what was my original plan? I was going to be a minister, right? I'm going to be a pastor. I love talking to people. And I love being in front of people. And my degrees are in math and computer science, technology. And I'm an endocrinologist. And so where do those things intersect? Those things intersect right here. And they intersect in content creation. And so that question is, what is content creation? What does that really mean? I was talking to someone recently, and we were making the point that content is all around us. Content is all around us. And the trick is, how do we take that information and make it relevant to people? And you heard last night, Kirk Nugent made a point, and he used the medicine metaphor. He said, the content that you create should be the medicine for what people are suffering from. So anyway, I decided, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do it. So I'm looking around and seeing what is available, what is going on out there. And a couple of things began to come to mind. And it is this, right? Number one, how amazing would it be to have content that people can touch and feel and interact with? How amazing would it be? All the little questions that people have, to be able to give an answer for those. How amazing would it be to be the personality, right, that helps and educates people as they're looking for content within the medical specialty? And so I said, hey, let's do that. And so we started doing some videos, right? If you go back and you look at our original videos. And then we began to grow and we began to look at other people. What are they doing? What's in the space? And so how can content support medicine? How can content creation support medicine? There are a host, and don't say a host, I said a host. There's a lot. There's a lot of content that's out there. One of the challenges within medicine is this, that unlike other specialties, other areas, sometimes people feel like there's this black box, and the only person that knows what's in the black box are the people that are the physicians. Let me say that again. We feel like the only people that can go into that black box are the physicians. And what I think can happen, and what I think should happen, is that our information should be readily available. Because you know what gives me the biggest pleasure when I'm dealing and talking to patients in the office is when a patient understands the disease process so much that when I'm talking about what my treatment is, they can follow me and they buy in and they can be involved in the treatment process. And that happens when there's education. Let me give you an example. In your life, if you're watching right now, you have made decisions about a lot of stuff, right? And you've maneuvered your way through your life, And the reason you've moved your way through life is because you had data. And you could make decisions. You made financial decisions with the support of your financial advisor and the people around you. You made career decisions with data and the people around you. You made decisions about your spouse. You made decisions about your house. You made decisions about where to live, what city, what state to live in. Where are we going on vacation? Right? What are we going to eat tonight? Who's going to cut the lawn? What kind of flowers are we going to put outside? So you're making decisions all the time, and you're making decisions because you have data. And because people don't have data, they don't have information, they don't have education, they don't have the content. We're coming back to that content creation, right? Sometimes they can't make a decision, or they make a decision that doesn't necessarily, they don't have all the information. Let me put it that way. And the place that content creation, now, I happen to be doing live videos, right? I love doing live videos. Like right now, I'm excited, right? Because I'm here talking to you. I love doing live videos. Not everybody does that. Some people like doing posts. They do infographics. They do blogs. They do podcasts. They do shorts. They do reels. They do, right? So there's all this stuff. There's all this way of interacting. But the place that content creation can play is that it allows for the transfer of information from the black box into the light. From in here, it's opened up and it allows everybody to see. Now, I think sometimes we feel that if we open up the black box, that our ability to manage patients and our ability to, I don't want to say be important because that's not the right word, but we feel that there's going to be too much chaos. Too much chaos. And to my colleagues that are out there, right? We have allowed too many people to have their hand in what we do and to regulate what we do. And we've just sat back and we've allowed it to happen. And right now we're suffering the consequences of some of that. And you know what I'm talking about. We're suffering the consequences. We see it in our practices, right? That we've got to see more patients to make the same kind of money. We've got to think of new things to do to survive. And a lot of people don't understand that that's where physicians are a lot of the times now, right? Where they are, and we are trying to figure out how do we survive. And so I get it, right? I get the idea of, well, no, let's not open up the box, right? But think of the allies that we get when people understand, when our patients understand the disease processes that we're talking about. And so here on the channel, you hear me say it all the time. I educate, I empower, and I encourage. I educate, I empower, and I encourage. And the reason I chose those three words is because that's where the power comes. And that's where content creation can play such a huge part in supporting medicine. My colleagues are out there and their minds, their brains, there are things that are in their minds that would be amazing if it came to some content. But all of us say we don't have the time. We don't have the resources. We don't have, we don't want to go live. We don't want to get out there. Let's just stay in our let's just stay in our offices and do what we do. But the benefit to the public and the benefit to the physician, the benefit to the medical community is huge. If we all are beginning to create content, and if we're all putting it out there. So what is content creation? Content creation is taking the things that we have and putting it in a form that's consumable by the public. Content creation. Right? Taking the things that we have, right? There's a transfer, right? Taking what we got and putting it in a form that's consumable by the public. And so that's why it's okay to have a live video, to have a recorded video, to have a book, to have a podcast, to have an infographic, to have a reel, to have a short, right? Because people consume things in different ways. And so finding the way that fits the person, right? Because not everybody's going to watch a live. Not everybody's going to listen to a podcast. Not everybody's going to watch a reel or buy a book or take an infographic. So the creation is putting it in that form. And there is content everywhere. There's content everywhere. Everything that we do as physicians is content. I'm going to create a word. Contentable. I'm going to create a word. Everything that you do as part of your practice of medicine is something that you can take and create in a way that you can now explain to someone what happened, what you did, the process. What's going on when you take a blood pressure? What does BMI really mean? What is a blood sugar? Because I'm using stuff for me, right? But you put in your stuff, right? Put your things in there. What does anemia mean? What's arthritis? Right? Now, everybody's going to say, and let me come back. Everybody's going to say, all our physicians going to say, or everybody who's watching, they say, well, we already have something on osteoporosis. We already have something on diabetes. We already have something on this, right? I can't tell you the number of times that somebody has explained something to me that I've heard before, but I didn't get it, and it didn't make sense, and it didn't resonate, and it didn't impact me. It didn't make a change in me until someone who connected with me said it. So, sure, you can be saying exactly the same thing that I'm saying right now. There are people who are going to listen to you and hear it and make a change. But when they heard me say it, they didn't make a change. So just because somebody has said it before doesn't mean you can't say it. So the benefits of content creation is that it allows for that kind of transfer of information. And where do you get the content? It's all around you. A day in the life of Dr. whoever. Day in the life of Dr. Woode. Me. I should do that. I'm going to write that down. Day in the life. Oh, I got the video. What is it like to be an endocrinologist? What is it like to be a hematologist? What is it like to be a gastroenterologist? A day in the life. People like that. People want to do that. Our young people, right, as they're thinking about what they want to do, that would be an awesome series, right? So I'm giving that to one of you who are out there. Right? Go out there and find a bunch of specialists. Hey, I'm doing a show on the day in the life of, and start with one and go through every specialty. That's a free consult, by the way. Right? And if you do it, you got to give me some credit. Okay? If you do that, you got to give me some, because, hey, I heard it. Dr. Woode was the one who mentioned it. Right? So do that. That would be awesome, not just for people who are interested in getting into medicine, but the people who are seeing those specialists now have an idea of what they do. Like I have people who come to my office and, they say, they see all this stuff about diabetes all over the office. And they say, well, I wonder why my doctor sent me to you because I don't have diabetes. I said, yeah, but I'm an endocrinologist, so I also take care of thyroid, which is what you're here for. Right? So content all around us. Right? And how do you get started? You find something and you create. The question that you're asking is, how does this content, well, let's go back. Let me I'm going to use the Kirk Nugent's thing, right? So what's the question you're answering, or what the problem you're solving? Are you real and relatable, and are you consistent? Right? Those three things. And I am always looking for and learning and trying to find different ways of explaining so many things that I do. You don't have to create a lot of stuff. Here's a simple example. Get somebody to walk around with you, right? You got to get patient consent and all that kind of. Walk around with you, and you don't have to show patients. Walk around with you for the day and videotape you. If you are a patient, if you are a client, if you're a customer, talk to your doctor and say, hey, give him ideas. Sometimes we first of all, we don't think we have time. And sometimes the idea is not there. But you give us hey, doc, it would be great for you to da-da-da. I love when you do this. I love when you explain this. Hey, do you think you can record that? Do you think you can make a video about that? Pump them up. Let them know. Because the more that we get into the habit of putting things out there and educating, the more I think medicine, our field, and our interaction with patients and our health gets better. Because people do things for people they like. Let me say that again. People do things for the people they like. Now, there's some stuff that you've done because your cousin told you about it. Right? Or your auntie told you about it. And you were supporting your auntie or your cousin. But as we put things out there, right, people get to hear our voices outside of the sterile clinic. And so the content creation space is amazing for its ability to have people connect with each other over this information that we're sharing. I get excited. I mean, I have a software that I use to organize my stuff, and I'm always putting stuff on there. Yeah. Let me write it. I got to do it right there. As a matter of fact, there's so much stuff there that I need somebody to help me organize it and to help me get some of that content out. So if you're out there and you do that kind of stuff, hey, contact me. Right? So I've got all this stuff. And I'm looking through every day. I'm like, oh, well, that's the one. That's one. That's one. I can do that. I should do it. Right? It's going. And it just. But there are tools out there that will help you to organize the information. Like I said, I have it organized. I just need somebody to help me execute some of it. Right. And you see here that there is so much that I do that I want to do. Right. This month has been an amazing month because I'm hearing all this information from people. I'm interviewing and I'm learning. And when I do content, right, when I produce content, I learn. There's not a piece of content that I've done that I didn't learn something from. So it's a way also of refining and sharpening and keeping on top of it, right? So now here's something that has happened to me. So now when people ask me certain things, I can say to them, go to my YouTube channel because I did a video on, right? So I can now point them there. Or if someone comes and says, hey, people say to me all the time, hey, and I'm going to do a short, hey, what about such and such? And I'll explain it to them. And I say to myself, okay, that's a video I've got to do. That's a short that I've got to do. Because that's where I'm answering that question. People will tell you what they need, what they want to hear about. And that's why I'm always saying to folks, hey, DM me, drop me a line, send me information. If you got a question you want, send me an email. Because I want to know, because those are the questions I want to answer. Because the content I create should be the medicine for what people need. And the space is amazing. Space is amazing. All right, let's see. We've got some, look at that. We've got some visitors coming out to say hello. Let's see. We've got Grace. Grace says, your show is a great platform to inspire others. You are amazing, Dr. Woode. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming through. Let me give you a hand clap and some music. And then Florence says, good evening, Dr. Woode. It's amazing how you incorporate and utilize all your knowledge and skills. Do what you love and educate and motivate viewers at the same time. Yes. I love this. I love this. Right now, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna say this really quietly. Right. I need, because my studio right now is not in my office. Right. So I need to build a studio in the office. So that I can, because there are times when I'm sitting in the office and I, talk to a patient and idea come. I was like, man, if I had it here, I would just run over. I would do a video really quick, right? Just go live. But I love it. Love what I do. Right? I tell my team all the time, there's not a day that I walk into the office where I say, now I might be tired, right? So I'm not gonna lie on that, right? I'm tired and maybe I need some sleep, or, I've been up all night doing something. But there's not a day that I walk into my office and say, man, I don't want to be here. And every time I walk through a door, right, into a room to see a patient, it's an adventure for me. Because I don't know what that patient's life experience is as it relates to the disease that they're coming for. And that's what makes this so rich. That you take a person with a disease process and you put that disease process in their life, and their life and the disease process interact in ways that you may not be able to think of or predict. And that part is what sometimes people don't understand. They're like, well, everybody has diabetes. So we treat everybody with diabetes the same way. Well, no. Right? There are some standards that we use. But that personal piece is always different. And that's what we talk about in my office with my team. I tell them that the person's story makes the visit. The person's story dictates sometimes what we do. Right? We've got our standard things that we do. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. But that is informed by what happens with the patient. And even that piece, that's a perfect piece of content. Showing, right? And I'm giving away all this stuff here tonight. Right? Showing the interaction of patient and patient and physician. Yeah. Write that down. If you write that down, just send it back to me. Right? Remind me of what I said. So in this space, I want to see more of my colleagues. I'm not calling you guys out, right? I'm just saying I want to see more of my colleagues. I'd love to see more of you guys here. I'd love to have some of you more on the show, right? That we can do some of this, talking about, hey, what do we do? Right? Form a group of physicians who are content creators. And so that we can inform each other. We can help each other, right? Everybody else does it. Everybody else does. All the other areas, people are getting together. Right? Let us get together. Because the benefit to us and the benefit to our patients, the benefit to the medical community, the benefit to the global community, I can't even begin to estimate the value of that. Yep. So how does content creation support medicine? It supports medicine because it allows for the transfer of information. It allows for some consistency. It allows for connection with patients. And it allows for demystification, if you will, of medicine. Right? There's not a black box. Let's all kind of look in there, and my folks will tell you that I'm quick to say I don't know. I don't know. We can figure it out. We can we can go get some resources to figure that out, but that I don't know. And I'm okay with that. And for now, I'm not staying that I don't know. Let's go find us some information. And this forum, this place that we're at, this medium, amazing, right? One of the things I'm going to talk about is, and we'll do a video, is how live streaming helps medicine. Yeah, because that's what I do. I live stream. I'm here. You can come on, you can ask questions, right? You can comment. And that's what I hope to grow, where this community is here and they come and they, hey, Dr. Woode, how about this? How about that? You remember the old call-in shows? Huh? You remember that? Right? That kind of stuff where people are here and they're asking questions. Right? And I can answer questions. Right? Now that's actually a perfect segue into our amazing question wheel, right? So see how that worked? I love it. So why don't we go over there right now, our amazing question wheel, and let's answer a question. All right. This is our amazing question wheel. If you've been with us, you've seen this before. If you've not, here is what it is. You see some questions on the screen, and I'm going to spin the wheel, and whatever question it lands on is what I will answer. Okay? And the question has to be, or the answer has to be concise, practical, cannot be nonsensical, and I have to answer it in 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Okay. When I'm done, I'm going to clip that out of the show, and I'm going to create a short or reel, some video that I'm going to post on our social media platforms, which you can find right down there under my name, Dwain Woode MD. You can see us on all the social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, any of those. Or you can drop me a line at dwoode. That's DWOODE at DwainWoodeMD.com. Okay, dwoode at DwainWoodeMD.com. And when you find the video that we create from this question, I want you to put in the comments hashtag I was there. So hashtag I was there, because you see me create it here live and on the show. Okay, so let's hop back over and let's go ahead and spin our wheel and see what question we're going to answer tonight. Round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, I don't know. I know, silly phrase, right? All right, let's see. How can I decrease the inflammation in my body? Ooh, okay. How can I decrease the inflammation in my body? That's a good one. And as we know, a lot of disease processes are based on inflammatory processes in the body. So how can we decrease the inflammation in our body? All right, so let's get 45 seconds on the clock and on the screen. Okay, let me think about that for a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about that. Okay, here we go. How do I Oh, let me start over. Start over. No. Start over. That's not fair. All right. You ready? Here we go. 45 seconds. How do I decrease inflammation in the body? There are several things you can do. Number one is avoiding highly refined processed foods. Number two, decrease the intake of high carb content food. Number three, avoid nightshade plants. So things like tomatoes and eggplant and zucchini and squash. Number three, incorporating things like turmeric into your diet, making sure you're getting enough vitamin D, and making sure that you are getting exercise, good sleep, and drinking enough water. All right, did I do it? I think so. All right. Yeah, that was a good question. I love that one. I love the question. How do I decrease inflammation in the body? All right. Well, tonight we're talking about how content creation supports medicine. How content creation supports medicine. So let's see, how did I get back over to my right screen? There we go. Boom. There we go. Yeah. So you guys heard kind of my story, right? The beginning part of this, becoming an endocrinologist. And a couple of things I want to say there. There is so much that I learned in the process of becoming an endocrinologist. But everything that I did before, everything that I've done up to this point is educating, is influencing, is informing what I do now. All the skills that I've learned, right? And you guys see me, I talk, right? I like to talk, right? That skill comes from training to be a pastor. I love technology, and we're going to do a behind the scenes at some point so you guys can see what's around me. That comes from my love of computer science and technology. Obviously, my medicine comes from my training in medicine. All of those things are now intersecting in what I do. So many of you who are watching are doubting where you are. And you're like, well, I shouldn't be here. I don't want to do this. Here's my advice. Wherever you find yourself, you can learn something. Wherever you find yourself, you can refine something that you do. Wherever you are, you can make a connection to somebody. Wherever you are, you can learn a process. Because one day, the things that you are learning now are going to be needed for where you are going. All that we're doing is to inform and to make rich where we are going. And so the content creation that I do, right? I do this because my mind is looking for, and it's using the stuff that I learned on, okay, how do I do this? What do I want to do? How do I get better? And I'm always looking to get better. I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to find a way to explain better, to educate better, to empower better. Huge part of what I do. So if you're out there and the space that you're in right now is not the space you want to be in, that's okay. You can have goals that take you away from what you're doing. But while you're in this space, learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn in this space. Because the more you learn here, you don't have to learn that lesson. You can now refine that lesson at the next place that you go to. Right? So don't waste the time. Don't waste the time. Well, this has been a great conversation. I love it. And so let's see, we got Florence. Florence is giving some hand claps. Thank you, Florence. Let's see if I can pop that up. There we go. Pop that up on the screen. And Grace says, a show that is worth watching. Thank you, Dr. Woode. You are so welcome, Grace. Glad that you can come through and that you're able to hang out with us for this little time. But so glad that you're here. We are I'm going through VLOGmas. And tomorrow we have India Delgado, who's coming on, another content creator extraordinaire. You do not want to miss hearing her story about what she's doing right now. If you have not already done so, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe to our channel, subscribe to this channel, Dwain Woode MD, by hitting the subscribe button and then hitting the bell so that you get notified when new content comes out. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account. It's free. Then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, if you know other people who are struggling to subscribe, they're not sure how to do it, I would appreciate it if you would help them so that they can get benefit from what I am doing. And then finally, let everybody that you know what's going on here on the channel, right? I am educating, I am empowering, and I'm encouraging you to take charge of your health and your life. So notice that I always put those two things together, your health and your life. Health is wealth, but life is where we get to spend that health, right? That wealth. So we want you to be healthy, and I'm talking about physically, mentally, emotionally, and the life, right? That's why we do the videos on goal setting, on mindset, on improving personality, on how to say no without feeling guilty, on how to connect, on how to be in a community. All those things are part of life. Because we don't want you to be healthy and stay at the house. That's not what this is about. We don't want you locking yourself up in a closet somewhere. So take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Create the life you've always wanted. I used to say live the fulfilling life, right? And you've heard me switch that. Create, because we're not allowing things to happen to us anymore. We are taking charge. I'm taking charge of my life. Excuse me. I'm taking charge of my life, and I'm directing my life where I want it to go. That's what I do here on the channel. I thank you for being here. I will see you tomorrow night at the next show, and give us a thumbs up and let everybody know what's going on. Good night. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. See you later.